The Simpsons has been on the air for over 35 years, and somewhere along the way, it developed a reputation for predicting the future. Trump's presidency, Disney buying Fox, smartwatches, the list goes on. Some of these feel too specific to be coincidence. Others make you wonder if the writers were just paying closer attention than the rest of us. Today, we're breaking down the craziest predictions from The Simpsons that actually came true. Not because the show has a crystal ball, but because great satire often sees patterns before they fully emerge. Let's go through them. We start with the most famous one, Bart to the Future, from season 11, which aired in March 2000. In this episode, Bart gets a vision of his life 30 years in the future.
Look ahead 30 years to the man you will become.
Lisa is president of the United States, and she's dealing with a country in financial ruin. At one point, she mentions that her administration inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
That's it. One line. President Trump. 16 years before it actually happened. When Trump won the 2016 election, people lost their minds over this clip. But here's the context. Trump had been talking about running for president since the 1980s. He ran in the 2000 Reform Party primaries right around the time this episode aired. The Simpsons writers weren't predicting the future. They were making a joke about a celebrity businessman who wouldn't stop talking about politics. The scary part isn't that they guessed it, it's that they connected Trump's presidency to financial disaster as a punchline. And years later, the national debt continued to skyrocket. The joke became reality. That's what makes it eerie. Next is the Disney-Fox merger, which might be the most visually specific prediction the show ever made. In the season 10 episode, When You Dish Upon a Star, which aired in 1998, Homer meets Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger.
Billy Baldwin!
I'm Alec Baldwin. Could you get off me?
So, what are you two kids doing in my neck of the woods?
Well...
Wait! Tell me over breakfast, who's for pancakes?
At one point, there's a wide shot of the 20th Century Fox lot, and on the building, there's a sign that reads 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company. In 2019, Disney bought 21st Century Fox for over $71 billion. The sign in that 1998 episode wasn't a throwaway gag. It was a satirical jab at corporate consolidation, the idea that one day, a few massive companies would own everything. The writers were exaggerating a trend they saw happening. Media companies were already merging and buying each other out in the 90s. The Simpsons just took it to its logical extreme. 20 years later, it stopped being satire. Then there's the Smartwatch, which appeared in Lisa's wedding from season 6. This episode aired in 1995 and takes place in 2010. Hugh, Lisa's British fiance, is shown wearing a watch that he talks into like a phone.
Go to plan B.
It's treated as normal future technology. At the time, it seemed like science fiction, but in 2015, Apple released the Apple Watch, and now, talking into your wrist is completely standard. This one isn't prophetic as much as it's inevitable. Smartwatch technology had been in development for years before this episode aired. The Simpsons writers just assumed that eventually, watches would become communication devices, because that's where tech was heading. What makes it feel like a prediction is how casually the show presented it. They didn't make a big deal out of it. It was just there, part of everyday life. And now it is. But this next one is where things get uncomfortable. In the season 2 episode 2 Cars in Every Garage and 3 Eyes on Every Fish, which aired in 1990, Bart and Lisa discover a 3-eyed fish they name Blinky living in the river near the Springfield nuclear power plant.
1, 2, 3.
It's a mutant caused by nuclear runoff, and it becomes a symbol of Mr. Burns' environmental negligence. In 2011, a fisherman in Argentina caught a 3-eyed wolffish near a nuclear power plant. The fish had a functioning third eye, and the locals immediately connected it to the nearby reactor. The Simpsons didn't predict a 3-eyed fish. They made a joke about nuclear pollution, something that's been a concern since nuclear plants existed. But the fact that it happened in almost the exact same way, down to the location near a reactor, is what makes people uncomfortable. It's not magic. It's just that pollution has consequences, and The Simpsons understood that in 1990. Moving on, we have the FIFA corruption scandal. In the season 25 episode, You Don't Have to Live Like a Referee, which aired in 2014, Homer becomes a World Cup referee and gets caught up in a storyline about bribery and corruption within FIFA.
But now, I would like to know if you are as incorruptible as they say.
The episode portrays FIFA officials as shady and corrupt, willing to do anything for money. 1 year later, in 2015, the real FIFA corruption scandal exploded. US authorities arrested multiple FIFA officials on charges of racketeering, fraud, and money laundering. It was one of the biggest sports scandals in history. But here's the thing, rumors about FIFA corruption had been circulating for years. Journalists had been investigating it. The Simpsons writers didn't uncover a secret. They just paid attention to what people in the industry were already whispering about. The episode aged like a documentary because the writers were satirizing something that was already true. They just said it out loud before the authorities did. Then we have Lady Gaga's Super Bowl performance. In the season 23 episode, Lisa Goes Gaga, which aired in 2012, Lady Gaga visits Springfield and performs an elaborate flying stunt where she's suspended in the air during her performance. It's over the top, theatrical, and very on brand for her. 5 years later, in 2017, Lady Gaga performed at the Super Bowl halftime show. She opened by jumping off the roof of the stadium and being suspended in the air on wires while she sang. The visual similarity to the Simpsons episode was immediately obvious. Fans pulled up clips comparing the two, and they matched almost perfectly. Now, this one is tricky. Lady Gaga is known for spectacle. The Simpsons wrote an episode that exaggerated her theatrical style, and when she performed at the biggest stage in the world, she leaned into that exact aesthetic. It's less prediction and more character consistency, but the fact that the specific visual of her flying through the air appeared in both is what made people take notice. Now we get into something that genuinely surprised scientists. In The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, from season 10, which aired in 1998, Homer has a midlife crisis and decides to become an inventor like Thomas Edison.
At my age, Edison had already invented 203 things. I got a lot of work to do to catch up to him.
At one point, Homer is shown writing equations on a chalkboard. One of those equations, if you pause and analyze it, predicts the mass of the Higgs Boson particle, also known as the God particle. The Higgs Boson wasn't officially discovered until 2012, 14 years after this episode aired. When scientists confirmed its mass, they realized Homer's equation was shockingly close to the actual result. How did this happen? The show's writer for that episode, David S. Cohen, has a degree in physics. He didn't predict the Higgs boson. He made an educated guess based on theoretical physics at the time. But the fact that a throwaway joke on a chalkboard ended up being accurate is what makes this one so unsettling. It's not supernatural. It's just smart writing from someone who understood the science, but it still feels impossible. Finally, there's the three-eyed fish we mentioned earlier, but there's another environmental prediction worth noting. In Lisa the Vegetarian, from season 7, Lisa becomes a vegetarian, and the episode treats her choice seriously, showing the ethical and environmental arguments for reducing meat consumption. At the time, vegetarianism was still seen as fringe, but as we've moved further into the 2020s, plant-based diets have gone mainstream. Environmental concerns, factory farming, and climate change have pushed more people toward vegetarianism and veganism than ever before. The Simpsons didn't predict this trend. They just understood that people were starting to question where their food came from, and they gave Lisa a platform to voice those concerns. Decades later, those concerns are now widely accepted. So why does The Simpsons feel prophetic? It's not magic, and it's not conspiracy. It's a combination of factors. First, the show has been on the air for over 700 episodes. Statistically, some of their jokes are going to line up with real events. Second, the writers are smart. They're plugged into culture, politics, science, and technology. They see trends forming and exaggerate them for comedic effect. When those exaggerations come true, it feels like prediction, but really, it's just good satire. Third, The Simpsons has always been willing to go further than other shows. They mock corporations, politicians, and institutions without holding back. When they joke about Disney owning everything or FIFA being corrupt, they're not guessing. They're pointing out patterns that already exist. The rest of the world just catches up later. The predictions that feel the most accurate aren't the ones about technology. Those are educated guesses based on existing trends. The predictions that feel prophetic are the ones about human behavior, corruption, greed, environmental destruction, celebrity politicians. Those patterns don't change. The Simpsons holds up a mirror to society, and what we see isn't the future. It's who we've always been. So the next time someone says The Simpsons predicted the future, the real question is, did they predict it, or did we just not want to see it coming? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe. There's plenty more Simpsons analysis where this came from.